you?
Recording in progress. Look at that. Now I just have to figure out where it's being saved. And oh, my internet connection is.
it it's inside your Zoom account. When you log into Zoom proper on the webpage, you'll
Okay,
see that it's whatchamacallit, recordings.
got it. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Save space on my computer.
Yes, and it's also webinar ability-ish, aka you can just share a link to somebody and somebody can just watch it directly from the cloud without
Mhm.
having to do it from whatchamacallit, like YouTube or something else.
Yeah. So they have
So
their
it's like
own video hosting platform as well, then.
it is, in fact, if you pay for the bigger versions of Zoom, you could actually create straight up webinars and it will run whenever you want it to run
How about
using that
that?
video. Yeah, yeah.
So I did the like the most basic paid plan that you could,
Hmm.
and I guess I just did the one time buy the $150 annually, and we'll see what that has to offer. This will be my first time having a paid Zoom subscription.
Well, at least I mean, good thing is that it won't you're not limited to 45 minutes. That's the biggest.
Yeah.
And the recording, and you get to record it. So those two bonuses. I mean, there's lots of other, like you can have up to 100 people online at the same time and blah 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 blah. But
Yeah.
that literally is the 45 minutes, and the recording part is like that's what it's all worth.
Yeah, I so my first coaching interview with a prospective client was I did not know that there was a 40-minute like cap.
Yep.
And so I was like, hey, it looks like we're about to get kicked out. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll send you a link. Oh, learned that today, didn't I?
Right.
And
Right,
that's
right,
that's
right.
something that I've noticed. There's a learning curve with all of this, but it by and large is manageable. Like once you get past the hurdle of I don't know this and that's kind of scary to hey, I'm interested in learning about this. What can I do with the information that's available?
Hmm.
It's it feels like a pretty substantial jump, even though I know like I'm still just in the infancy phase of figuring all this stuff out.
As long as you're comfortable with like making little micro mistakes all the time, like all the time, as long as you're okay with that, it's gonna happen more. It's not gonna happen less. It's gonna happen more, and just accept it as part of the curve.
Yeah, the more you do, the more you're going to mess up.
Absolutely. I just did an audio event on my birthday on the 15th, focused on entrepreneurship. And thank you. And the first 10 minutes were trash. Like I couldn't get the audio to work. I couldn't get my thing to work. I couldn't get my computer to work. I kept get dropped out of my own thing. And so eventually I went to my phone, and then LinkedIn on phone audio is great, except it doesn't have all the features and capability as it does on desktop, because LinkedIn is like that. LinkedIn is like, I'll give you all the capability on your desktop and then mostly the things you need on mobile.
And that's interesting. I mean, I it makes you wonder like what the back end of that looks like. How hard would it
Right?
be to
Like
add that
it's a
functionality?
bunch of like very old people. That's what
You
like
sort
in
of
their
you sort of
70s.
imagine that the people working at these places are about our age or maybe 10 years older, but I guess the ones in charge probably wouldn't be, right?
I think platforms attract like minded people of that platform. Like anything, right? Birds of a feather, no matter where you go. Like I think you'll get a much younger group of coders and enablers at Snapchat than you will at LinkedIn, especially
Mhm.
in the hierarchy, you know, based on when the platform was created, but not only that, but also like the mentality. That's why each platform is so nuanced. I don't think it has to do with the audience. I think it has to do with the programmers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and the marketing strategy that they take to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's an interesting point. One of the things that I've noticed with LinkedIn is they are very aggressive with their like platform marketing emails.
yeah.
Like, how many emails do I get from Facebook? I don't think I don't I don't think I get any
Mm-hmm.
because I have them on my notifications in Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But anytime somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn, I get an email. Anytime
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn thinks I might be interested in a topic, I get an email.
Right, right,
And I
right.
understand that from like a marketing perspective, but that it's a I mean it's a unique way to market a social media platform when you already have somebody within your platform.
Well, you got to remember who's it designed for. It's designed for the demographics that use email. In fact, you know what they call their messaging system?
Mm-mm.
In mail.
In mail.
It's in mail. It's not a DM. It's not. It's an in mail. So you get an in mail, not to be confused with your out mail, which is the your email address. It's all around like 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 that culture, that
Hmm.
demographic. In fact, if you have a Microsoft 360 account,
Yeah.
you get additional feature unlock that most people don't even know about on LinkedIn because of the design of Microsoft specifically owning LinkedIn and things like that. So,
I did not know Microsoft owned LinkedIn.
yeah, so like you get an automatic resume builder off using your LinkedIn profile. There's an integration between Word and your LinkedIn account and the templates, and it will autofill the data from your LinkedIn account onto a resume template.
I can see how that would be useful, especially if you'd
Yeah,
spend a lot of time like building up your LinkedIn account, whatever that looks like.
right. Well, and remember, it was the whole purpose of LinkedIn initially. Its prime directive was job seeking.
Hmm.
That was its job. Its whole purpose was to give people
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the things that people will post on LinkedIn are geared towards like looking good professionally. It's
Right.
like if you spending time at home looks like how you spend your time on Facebook, you spending time at work is what it looks like you do
Mm,
on LinkedIn.
absolutely. That's why they have all these auto features for like celebrate a certificate, celebrate a new, give kudos to a team member,
I find that so
right?
patronizing.
Like they have it.
Congratulate your friend on their new thing.
Yeah, like it's in the it's an auto part of the system.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that is definitely an interesting feature. Like, and and it does seem like there's a depth to LinkedIn that I still have not mastered or explored very well, and I think that's like the services function. Like,
Oh
what
yeah, yeah.
services do you have to offer?
Yep.
My initial forays into it were I don't know, like unsuccessful and sort of halting and not, I didn't really know what I
Mm-hmm.
was doing, and so I just haven't picked it back up since then, and I've been focusing my energy in other places, but that it definitely seems like the potential is there for it to be helpful as a way to connect with people. Because initially, when you said like the majority of the clients that I get are from LinkedIn, I was like, oh, I'll just go to LinkedIn. And then I look at like, oh, KB has 4,000 and some odd people like connected with him. How many do I have? 13. I wonder if that's going to affect anything.
Yeah, welcome to the party. Um, but I say I'll tell you two things. One, you may or may not know this, but the LinkedIn services is like a sub profile off your profile.
Did not know that.
It is another profile
Hmm.
inside a sub category or inside like a sub element of LinkedIn, I guess, especially to say it. And
Yeah.
you actually have to go to your services profile and update it with stuff. And it can be different than what's on your main page. Sure, congruent, but it can be different. It could be
Yeah.
more highly tailored and focused.
Hmm.
And I find that LinkedIn services, so the way LinkedIn services happens is just that you'll get prompted, especially if you're new, which is the shame on you, LinkedIn, shame on you, because if you're new, it will like hit you with all their marketing, right? And one of them is ask an expert. So if you go to a post and you hit the button ask an expert, it activates the LinkedIn services subroutine mechanisms type of thing. And if you fill out a little form, depending on the algorithm, I still haven't cracked like why I get the people I get. Some of it has to do with like geolocation. Some of it has to do with like specifics of things that I say I offer and say they things that they want, right? Um, and then I get notified, and my notification says you have a new career development leadership coach or leadership whatever, right? And you click there, and now I'm inside the subroutine of the services, and I see what they put on their form, and I have an option to hit proposal. Only 5 people can hit the proposal, and that's it. And it locks it. But it gives you the person's face and their account. It didn't before. You had to go sleuthing, but now it gives you the account. So now you can click on it and go to their page and see who they are, what they're about, follow, connect request, in addition to the proposal. So
Hmm.
the issue is that 99% of the time they the people who have 13 followers, right, who just got an account a couple weeks ago, hit the button to explore its capability because they do
Rather
kind of
than
need help.
rather than execute the subroutine that does all this shit that they have no idea like what any of it is or means.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
And so they get overwhelmed very fast because people who are on LinkedIn services want to provide their services very fast. And then all of a sudden they're like people are getting asked tens of thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? And it's like, whoa. In fact, I did that one time for an app build. I got over 6,000 requests via what was it? It was via either InMail, email, not 6,000, 600 requests. Because I'm like, no, it was 6,000. 600 requests via InMail, email. One guy even called me, which I thought, wow, you got balls. That's awesome. Because my number's out there, right? I'm not hiding anything,
Hmm.
but people are just not, they're just not that aggressive, right? So I don't mind. And oh yeah, and then messaging and all that good stuff. And I was like, wow, guys. I had to reply to each of us like, oh, sorry, my bad. I did not mean to activate this. This is not what I was looking for. I'm not looking for a nap today. Thank you so much. And I had to keep.
And this was like you had hit that button, and now
Yeah.
all of a sudden, all these people were like, "Hey, here's a lead. Just need to follow up with him."
No, no, other way around. I was the lead. I asked for an app, and then
Hey,
all the app builders, right, got my name.
here's somebody that I can
Yeah, and then they were,
provide my
and then
services to.
from a perspective of the user, I just get overwhelmed because I'm
Hmm.
just getting hit from all sides now every time somebody hits that button. And
Yeah,
so imagine this: you're brand new to LinkedIn. Oh, what does this do? Oh my god!
yeah.
Unleash the dogs of war. It's like why?
Yeah, that's
Anyway, it's very hard. Like if you know that and it's a legitimate lead and
mhm.
you want to use it, you got to be like you got to address that in the beginning. Like, look, you just probably got overwhelmed with like 1,000 hits. I apologize. I'm one of them. Let's just keep in the DMs for a while. This is free. Let's just talk. What's your deal? You know what I
that's a good
mean?
sales pitch. Start off with an apology.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because from a user, I know what it's, especially if it's new. Now, if they have like a couple thousand followers and they're like legit, and they've been on for a while, and they're
Hmm.
going through a career transition, okay, That's different.
Yeah.
Right? That they're seasoned, they know what's going on, they're legitimately looking for something very, very specific. That's a different type of lead altogether.
Yeah.
And you can be a little bit more aggressive with those guys. Because they want it. Because they know what they're getting into, and they want some legitimate help.
No, that makes
Anyway,
sense.
the point is it's nuanced, right? And it's a subroutine within the grayer thing, and you're gonna kind of have to maintain, but it drips. I just got a lead yesterday or over the weekend,
mm,
and I've been helping her with her bookkeeping business.
nice.
Right? Will she become like a paid client? I don't know, maybe. Right? But the fact that I can just like connect with somebody that needs legitimate help, help them think through their business lines or in their idea, what they're trying to do, and then they got to a stopping point where they're like, oh shit, man, I haven't even thought this through. I haven't thought this through.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need a break. I need to. You've asked me a lot of great questions. I can't go any further until I get past what you've already given me. And I
Yeah.
know, all right, cool, right? Like I feel very satisfied as a coach, helping somebody like on their journey. And I would never connected with this person in reality. You know what I mean? Like, so it's worth it. And plus, if I could do a good job for them, they leave a review either way. Helps with the next one.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that I found interesting when I started thinking about it was like the um it was actually when you mentioned that Microsoft owned LinkedIn, that made me think of Google Circles. Remember that?
Yep.
And it makes me wonder, like, has Apple ever tried a social media company? Like, because Facebook arose organically. Facebook and MySpace and like they came after what, like Live Journal and all these
Oh,
micro blogging
geez.
sites, and then
Yeah. The ancient relics of social media
yeah, yeah.
in the ruins of the internet.
Well, and then you think like, okay, the once you realize that people will share amounts of information about themselves just because, just as a way to connect with whoever, like
Mm-hmm.
it all of a sudden becomes this gold mine that you can then monetize, right? So it makes sense that
Right.
Google would want to do that. It makes sense that Microsoft would want to do that. And it just makes me wonder, like, what other attempts were made? What what was left on the cutting room floor, when
Mm-hmm.
these companies were like, hey, I see an opportunity here. How can we monetize this?
Well, do you remember Vine?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was like a YouTube competitor.
Yeah, it was like the
Only you
Twitter
did
of YouTube.
Twitter of YouTube.
Just
That code is now TikTok.
yeah. I noticed that TikTok came up and it was like basically the same thing, even though I've never used either of them.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I think they bought them. I think they bought the code. So
Hmm.
like it's literally the code.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah. With
DNA
a
of
different
Vine.
name and a different user interface slapped onto it, and a
Yeah.
different algorithm that
Right. Right.
lends towards
It
mental
evolved.
instability rather than
Yeah, it evolved. It went from horizontal to portrait. I mean, it just evolved.
yeah.
And I think that's the same that we're seeing with all the social media companies, right?
Who
They're evolving.
who initiated Vines?
I don't remember.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to find out. I
I'm just saying it's all threading,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And now there's other ones like there's all what we'll call alternative to YouTube video
Yeah.
hosting platforms out there,
Rumble.
like Rumble, right? As an
I
example.
primarily, when I like, I have guys that I watch, I will
Mm-hmm.
primarily watch them on Rumble just
Mm-hmm.
because, yeah, I don't really care for the censorship so much. It's like when you have heard enough times that like people are getting deplatformed and shadow banned and like
Mm-hmm.
all these. all these words that were not in our lexicon like a few years ago.
Right.
It where does this all originate? Oh, it originates from one organization's desire to limit the speech of name a group of people that they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing what Rumble wanted to do with their like with their platform and the guidelines that they expect their users to abide by, I was like, yeah, I kind of like that. I would like to
Mm-hmm.
support that. It's just the problem with like posting videos like this or any time that you want to create an audience, you have to go where the people are. You have to offer it where they are. So, I mean, if I just posted these videos on YouTube, probably wouldn't get any real hits. Like
Well,
nothing
that depends. So,
meaningful.
so, so it's interesting. There was on my audio event, there was an interesting revelation that came out of that. So, previous to that, we talk about like algorithm versus audience, right? So when I started my drop zoning technique for my marketing,
Mm-hmm.
I had realized that it's not the algorithm we're fighting, it's the audience we're fighting. And what the algorithm is doing is attempting to get the content to the audience. It's actually helpful. It's a helpful element, right? It's trying to cluster, pull in together. We got audience all over the place, right? And it's going, okay, you're going to drop a thing about, gotta get nichey, leadership development, Fortune 500 companies in Texas,
Pretty
right?
specific.
Very specific. That information is very useful to the algorithm. They go, who's into leadership development, right? Who's into what you call it in Texas? Whoop, and it goes right, and it pushes that post to the person right in their feed, and
Mm-hmm.
if they like it, that's or engage with it. By the way, tap it in any way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. By the way, is engagement. It then feedback loop to the algorithm says, yes, I did a good job. I did find the audience that this post best resonates with, right? I'm proud of myself. We're going to make sure we do more of that. So when people say they're trying to trick the algorithm by using these hashtags that are popular or trending, they're screwing themselves
Mm.
because they're confusing the algorithm as like it's like the id of the internet. It doesn't know any better, but it's trainable, and so you got to train it because it is trainable because it is machine learning now.
Mm-hmm.
It's training to who you are, to what you produce. You start producing random stuff, it's going to give you random people. You
And
start
they may or
talking
may not be interested in what you're.
right. You start talking more
Yeah.
specifics. You stay within certain lanes all the time. You're training it to
Yeah.
find more people that enjoy that content. So, okay. So the first step is that it's audience, not algorithm. Is that you're not focused enough on an audience.
Mm-hmm.
Let the
You're
algorithm do its job.
you're just trying to game the algorithm, which is
Correct.
going
Don't
to
try
give
to
you
game the
not the
algorithm.
audience necessarily that's going to stick.
Right. You'll be there. You'll be screwed all day.
Yeah.
What you need to do is game your audience. Find your audience and then
Yeah.
know the things about your audience that trigger them to react to the stuff you're putting out. Now, second question, this is the part that was revealed in my audio was, okay, who's my audience?
Mm-hmm.
And this is I'll give you the conclusion. The conclusion is you.
Guys who are trying to start a business
Whatever you are,
in the military,
you are the audience. So
white,
what ends up happening is
6'3".
that your audience is reflective of who you are and all
No.
the things about you. So if you were to list out the 35 characteristics of who you are on paper and try to create an audience avatar based on yourself and fill it out with all the details that you know about you, that's the audience. The only
Mm.
thing you now have to do is go, which part of me am I going to represent through this platform?
Which part of me sells?
No, no, all of you sell. That's not. Yeah, that's the thing. So let me try again. So like,
Trying to learn.
so it's like, okay, no. Like, it doesn't matter. You could be a guy that loves yellow hoodies, rockstar beads, and winter like bull. What is this? Winter edition bull Red Bull, right? Like, you could be this guy. Like, this is. I define my life about this. I will find 100 other people who are just like this.
Hmm.
There's 8 billion people on the planet. The patterns repeat
Okay.
a lot, right? A lot. And so, really, what you do is you take your 35 characteristics, an arbitrary number, and you go, okay, I have a business now. I have a thing I want to do. I want to do leadership development. So, if I want to do leadership development, then out of all of my 35, that might be 15. It's still me, right? It's still a limited version of me, but it's the 15 that have to deal with the thing I want to do. So I recreate that avatar around those 15. Now it's still my DNA. It's still me. But I'm not talking about like when I used to LARP, a long time ago, right? When I used to do Vampire the Masquerade or Dungeons and Dragons or some interesting fringe topics.
Were those interesting to you?
Those are awesome. Those were awesome. And I got lots of reasons why those were awesome. But I don't have time for that nonsense now, right? But because I leveled up my game. This is now my LARP. Don't tell anybody. So
LARPing in real time.
oh yeah. And so you take all that, right? And you just kind of form around, this is my digital persona
Mm-hmm.
that represents my business, because this is what I want to focus on. Not because it's not all who I am. It's just, this is who I want to focus on. And if you do that, that helps the algorithm go, oh, we need to find people like that guy, because that guy's producing content that guy likes. And we'll find more people like that guy because birds of a feather.
Mm. Okay.
So the idea is find your audience, which is just you in a different picture or a limited form.
Mm.
Stay consistent, and then let the algorithm do its work. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's yeah. I think I'll have to sit with that for a while to digest it, fully appreciate it.
Well, you already have this going in real life.
Also,
Everybody in your circle's like you. Okay, look, let me get this straight. You tend to like CrossFit, correct?
I do tend to like CrossFit.
You have literally you put up pull-up bars in your backyard.
Yep.
Would you say that your wife likes CrossFit?
My wife does like CrossFit. She loves
Yeah,
CrossFit, in fact.
she loves CrossFit, right? And I bet you if I'd ask you about, two or three other people in your world who you frequent, you would probably suggest that they kind of maybe like CrossFit too.
I would. Actually, none of the people that I associate with at work
No, well, because work's weird.
do CrossFit. But
That's
then
work's
like
weird. You got to be like, I'm talking about like outside of like these controlled environments where you're forced to be with
but then
people.
like when
You're
I'm at
forced to be with
home,
people.
that's the thing. But when I'm at home, the people that I hang
Mm,
out with, they don't do CrossFit either. Like
mm,
it's the parts of my life that intersect with the other people's parts of their lives
mm,
almost. I don't know if I okay, so if I thought about the three things that I enjoyed spending my time doing more than anything else, and if we're taking like bedroom activities aside and
mm.
whatnot, but like the things that I do that make me feel the best when I'm doing them, working out, uh creating things, like whatever that looks like, whether that's woodworking, whether that's making videos, whether that's writing. I love that. I love the way that creating something feels.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say like eating, eating like new foods that I've created, or well, let's say that, and like spending time chasing my son around and spending time with my wife. Like those are the four things that when I think about who I am and what defines me, it's what I can create, who in my life close to me I can interact with. And then if if you expand that out to like whatever those 35 characteristics are, the things that I am interested in, it feels like those are like the things that I then spend my time doing that are not those core functions, those core things that bring me the most enjoyment in my life. So like sitting down and listening to a video on Rumble or something, listening to some cultural commentary or reading, scrolling through memes on Facebook. Like those are things that are then like tangential to whatever it is about me that likes those first four things. And so that I think it's that like second layer, the tangential things that end up connecting me in some way with other people, but then like the it seems like the meaningful connection, the like when I am then willing to spend my time with somebody else or doing something else, it is because what that person or that other thing and I have to offer. It's when we resonate within that first circle, within those core behaviors, those core actions that I guess define myself by. So then if I'm thinking about that, then you think about I think we mentioned him on our last discussion, Mr. Beast, like
Mm-hmm.
this guy who spent a year studying what makes things go viral and and figured it out obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes me wonder like what about that framework that we're discussing he is tapping into. It's whatever has the broadest possible application rather than the narrowest. Like it's not professional development for Fortune 500 companies in Texas. It's watch me eat the world's biggest slice of pizza. And here's a picture of me with it and 252 million views.
Mm-hmm. Well, he just uses Seth Godin's Purple Cow marketing. His whole thing is centered around Purple Cow.
Purple
Doing the
cow.
most outrageous Purple Cow. Doing the most outrageous thing to get attention.
Mm.
So it's like that's the viral. That's how it goes viral, But that is his niche. His niche is doing the thing that no other YouTuber can do, right? And doing bigger and crazier things with it.
Okay.
So, like, he has this whole thing where you keep your hand on this item and you win it. First person, last person to keep their hand on the object. And he starts out with a cheap car to a Lamborghini. Recently, he did a plane. Like, what a person's going to do with a plane, I have no idea. But he has now what you call it, a jet plane. Can't fuel it, but whatever.
I
But
guess
that's the point.
when you have
It's
enough money to give away a plane.
yeah. But the person winning it is a Joe Schmuckoelli, right? Doesn't doesn't
Yeah.
have to have the money to get the gas.
Guess
Anyway,
I'm
so but
gonna
the point
sell
is
it.
that right, that doesn't matter, right? That doesn't matter. What does matter is just the the bigger, right? The social connect. The
Mhm.
that's a purple. Who does that? You know, he just takes that to a whole new level, and that's his niche.
Yeah.
You go to see what next level crazy he can do, and watch it, and then get and watch how he's affecting people around him,
Yeah.
right? So that's, but that I bet you that's also part of his personality, right? That's a big core piece of who he is
Creativity. Like
creativity.
what's the next thing? What's the
What's the
next
next
biggest
thing?
thing I
He
can do?
barely even he doesn't keep all that money. Like he makes tons of money using doing this method, and he pours it all back into the next big thing.
Hmm.
Right? They all take enough to kind of do what they got to do with their daily lives, and right, to live a life of where they can just spend all day creating stuff,
Yeah.
and then they pour the rest of it into the next creation.
Next thing you know, we're giving away a plane.
Yeah, that's how we get here. Um,
So one thing that I've been thinking about more lately is like was what we talked about the thumbnails. So I've been trying to think of things that are a little bit more attention grabbing, like 15 credit cards in one day. I
that was
thought that
good,
was
by the way.
thought that was
I
good.
enjoyed that. I watched that, and I was like, that was. I mean, it was us talking just like we are now, but the
But it was a good
context
hook.
and the way you clipped it, right? Like where you started it and then
Yeah.
where it ended, and then in there had the meat, as well. I thought it was a well
I
done
appreciate that. I
little
actually
deal.
just got done with the second clip, and it'll be like a little more than 20 minutes long. And and I did a little something different with how it flows. Like you take a section of it that's kind of a little grabbier, a
Mm-hmm.
little attention grabbier, and put it at the front
Mm-hmm.
because maybe not all of it is going to be as broadly appealing as maybe you would like,
Mm-hmm.
but that it's a technique, and still being very new in this space, I'm willing to try whatever. And
Yeah.
but the thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is the format. Um, there's this guy I watch on YouTube, Dr. Steve Turley. His
Mm-hmm.
videos, when like the produced ones, the ones where he's like got his backdrop and his professional microphone, and it's so interesting to watch just the structure of it. It's anywhere from 9 to like 11 or 12 minutes long. The introduction is always, here's what we're going to talk about. Make sure you stay until the end when I reveal blank. And like there's never a reveal. There's never a big reveal. It's just, hey, we're going to be talking about this thing, right? You want to stay until
Uh-huh.
the end because, looking at the analytics on the videos, I'm like, oh yeah, there's that drop off.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Hey, make sure you're here until the end when I reveal. And then he goes right into, but first, get my free gift for Patriots,
Mm-hmm.
whomever, right? Or insert paid promotion here.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you join my email list to get access to this stuff, right? There's that email
Mm-hmm.
marketing. Here's what we're going to talk about, and the thumbnails are always something attention grabbing.
Mm-hmm.
It's and so it's just like watching that format, watching that structure, and seeing it like when you start to try to market these things, it's like, okay, I get that. I now understand why he has 1 million subscribers and
Mm-hmm.
is clearly doing very well with the reach that he achieves with these videos. And then every once in a while, like there's enough of whatever whatever elements constitute a viral worthy video that
Mm-hmm.
like usually you sit around 150, 250, 350,000 views. And then this one's got 1.2 million, more than
Right.
you have subscribers, which
Right.
it's, it's just, yeah. Learning about this stuff is interesting. I'm enjoying it.
And I was going to actually ask you, because so I started, or I'm starting officially, right? Another company, a marketing company specifically,
Hmm.
as a spinoff from my leadership development company, because marketing is so important. I've had to, like, over the last 6 months,
Yep.
shift my attention to the marketing part because I can't market. I'm not going to any clients. I don't have clients. I don't have any money. Right? So,
Yep.
so it's a pretty straight
That's
line
how it works.
issue, right? And so, and I've tried to outsource marketing before, and it just doesn't. We still run across capability problems.
Capability problems.
Yeah, yeah. The people who are most capable are probably outside my reach. And
Hmm.
I proved that because I tried to hire Gary V's team, for instance, right? And they give you a filtered application. And through that filtering, like, how much money do you have to spend, essentially,
Yeah.
right? If I don't have $100,000 to spend, I can't get their services. Well, their services work,
That's why they're worth
right?
$100,000.
That's why they're worth $100,000. So there's a gap between 0 to 100,000, where the people in between that are so-so, and you don't get you. It's more likely than not that you're not going to get a company that's going to serve you the way that's going to serve you. So
Hmm.
you have to develop your own internal marketing division, essentially, to serve you the way you need to be served.
Yeah.
Until you get to the 100,000, and then you can outsource that. But anyway, henceforth, my marketing division, um, and I keep it very narrow. I don't got all the time in the world, right? So I do digital text. I do text copy,
Yeah.
right? And I do content specific in text format only, no pictures, no video. I focus on the text, and I just go into that deep, so that I can master that one thing, and that one thing gets me to 100,000, right? That's the idea. It's like, I've got all the time in the world to hire a whole bunch of people. They're going to fail me. So, but I can master one thing. And if that gets me to the point to where I can then outsource it to somebody that's more capable, then that's the ultimate goal. So that's why, but the point I decided to do instead was spin off that division into another company. And it's now going to do that. But because it's another company, I can now hire and other people. So I now have a team of three, right? I do text, I got a guy that does video, and I got a girl that does images.
Nice.
So that company, joint venture type of thing, where everybody now I split up those. Now I still stay specialized in what I do, but now I just use their specialization in what they do. We come together to create product, and the first customers are ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And then as we do what we do, we can then demonstrate that on our own line. Hey, do you want this too? We hired this company. Oh yeah, it's us, but and now that company can then get extra clients, and it helps separate my leadership development from the marketing paid consulting thing
Okay. Yeah.
that I'm doing as a necessity for the bit. I'm doing it out of necessity, not because I want to.
Well, if you were doing what you wanted to do, what would that look like?
Oh, it's the leadership development. It's coaching. That's
Just
what I
just
want to
coaching and
do.
leadership
That's the
development.
seminars and coaching and masterminds. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this 8 hours a day. You know, 16, whatever. That's what I want to do, but I can't do that because I don't have enough of that going on because I don't have enough marketing happening.
Yeah.
So I need to up the marketing game so that I can get more gigs. So that eventually one exceeds the other.
And then just lean into that.
Just lean into that. That's
Yeah.
why I'm going to. That's why I'm creating the marketing company to be less me and more processes.
Yeah.
Here's the system I use to generate content, and eventually I'll be able to hire somebody to replace me specifically that generates the content. The same thing with the other people,
Hmm.
right? they'll be able to replace themselves. Or in one case, she'll probably be hired on if everything works out. She will be the replacement, right? She'll be the person. But the point is that I'm thinking systems. I'm not thinking about capability. Like, I have a personal experience-based capability that cannot be replicated no matter what. So do you. That also means I get paid per hour, in a sense. Like, I have to generate time and energy to get paid for it in real time most of the time.
Yeah, it's an exchange.
It's an exchange, and it's a direct exchange because that's the way I like it. I like this. This is my favorite thing to do. Get on a call, talk with somebody, work through things. That's what. Yes, I'll build a course one day because I also like making money in my sleep. But I enjoy, but that doesn't bring me any passion to create a course. So guess how many courses I've built, right? So like, this brings me passion. This brings me excitement. This is what I want to do. So if this is what I want to do, this is where my energy flows. The other things need to be systemized. They need to be like a robot.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do them. I just know it. I don't have the time, energy, nor will type of thing. So that's why my marketing is system based. I have a process that I use, and I use that, and then I take that process, put it in a box, and I deploy it in a very tight manner.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather not be doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Right? I'd rather not be doing it.
Have you read the $100 million offers by Alex Hormozy yet?
Mm-mm.
It's real good.
Yeah.
Like, it's got a good hook right at the beginning of the book. Right at the end, it sort of brings it all together. But the the premise of the book is essentially like, it's basically, hey, take all the guesswork out of making offers that of the services that you have to provide that people can't refuse, that people feel stupid for turning down. And it's phenomenal. Like, I'm probably going to reread it just because where I was when I read it in the business adventure that I'm on is not where I'm at.
Right.
And so, looking at it with a new set of eyes, I'm sure I'm getting insights that I wouldn't otherwise have. But it's like,
absolutely, 100%.
Define your audience, define what you're selling, like, figure out how to package it in a way that they can't say no. Figure out how to, like, what it is that you need to offer to make somebody feel like, wow, if I don't get this, like, that's a really bad idea if I don't take this opportunity. And so it's about, I guess it's about how to be a successful salesman.
Yeah.
And that's not marketing per se, but he does cover.
It's the next step, right? Yeah. Like, sales only work if you have good marketing.
Yeah. Well,
caveat that
you have is something
you
that
can't
just
do sales and no marketing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fact. Like, all it takes is a phone call and your willingness to make 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
So, like, or direct marketing, if you want to rephrase it, right? Every time somebody says no, that was just a direct marketing. Every time they say yes, it was a sale. Yeah, but it's very.
Yeah, I get direct marketed to by the housing, the home warranty companies.
Oh, yeah.
Because for whatever reason, the realtors like to add in a home warranty. Because that's like, hey, this is just, it's something else we can offer. Our company has a deal with the home warranty company, and I don't like them. Talk to a lot of people that have gotten good use out of them, but I am not one of those people. And so when I get their phone calls, I'm just like, nope, no, thank you, not interested.
Right, but from a sales perspective, from the business perspective, you have a team of 15 people making 300 calls a day. You only need 2 yeses.
Yeah.
To pay for the day. Make three, now you're on profit. And that's an old school way of doing it, and that's fine. Like I don't think there's anything. It's a fast way, you know what I mean? But it's a lot of energy, right? Because those 15 salespeople don't show up. Zero calls are being done,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if zero calls are being done, then you're making zero money no matter what you do during that day. So that's why people are starting to lead into marketing first, because marketing at least generates the leads. So when you do call, you're not getting a 0.0001% hit. You're getting like a 10% hit or even a 20% hit because they're already
Mm-hmm.
familiar with who you are. Or better yet, the type of marketing where people not just raise their hand and say, I'm kind of interested in this thing you have to offer, but I want it.
Yeah.
How do I get it? And now you're at 100%. And that's the grand poobah of marketing, because now you're kind of making money in your sleep. Because you're
Yeah.
not actively making the sale. They're just coming to you to buy, and they just buy it from you.
Yeah. So that's the I don't I, it just makes me think of Alex Hormozzi's his book. Like
Mm.
it's like if it's so good that people are asking you for it, like please take my money. Like that
Yeah,
you want what you have to offer to be that appealing. You
no,
it's
which is
just
interesting.
how to package it that way.
So let me give you this little nuanced piece. In the audio event, when we talked about the audience, the the outcome of that conversation was, if you're an entrepreneur, because the idea of the whole audio event was income streams, generate more income streams.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're agnostic about the product, then the best thing you can do is go talk to your audience, aka you, right, in mirrored form. Find out the things that they need and want, and then solve that problem for them in a product.
Mm-hmm.
If you could do that, being product agnostic and not getting wrapped up into a passion, you'll make a hell of a lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're already serving the community that you are is like you, so they're already residents. And once you do that, then it's like moving forward. In fact, one of the reasons why I chose to make my marketing division to a marketing company is because people are going, who's doing your? Because keep asking me who's doing your marketing, who's doing your LinkedIn content. Well, I am. Well, how can I do what you do? You could pay me. They're like, done.
I have the solution to your problem.
I have a solution to your problems. Like, okay, so let me figure out, right, how to tighten up the system here so that I can now provide it to other people,
Mm-hmm.
um, as its own thing. So that was it. I had an audience. Audience is asking me about my business stuff, how I'm running my business, and then I could offer them a solution that they don't want to handle. And that's the way to do it. Like as an entrepreneur,
Yep.
that's how you're going to generate more income.
Yeah. That's Kiyosaki says entrepreneurship is just problem solving. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just you are solving other people's problems. That is what makes you an entrepreneur. Yeah. And
100%.
it's like it definitely takes the I don't know, it takes the perspective on capitalism to a more a positive place. It's like, oh, this is what is meant by capitalism. You capitalize on opportunities to solve problems for people. And
Right.
then they are all too happy to let you solve their problems.
Exactly.
Mm.
Look, I didn't put my own Christmas lights up this year. Nope. I hired a dude with a ladder, and that guy got done. Right? It got done fast. I don't want my own lawns. Right? A dude, the same company was like, "Hey, do you got a bunch of leaves in your backyard?" I was like, "Actually, I do got a bunch of leaves in my yard. I was just gonna let decompose over the winter." He goes, "Would you like me to clean them out?" I'm like, "You know what? Sure." Like ninjas, they jumped the fence, cleaned it up, made it all disappear. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "You guys are amazing." Well, how much money you want? Sure, whatever. Like, yes. whatever, like whatever you need, man. Thank you for your service, because that's a value to me.
Yeah.
Right. That's a value to me. Thank you for saving me so much time and effort. Like I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think when we do capitalism things in that sense, that's the win. I think there's some interesting interplay between, and I think that my brain's just like, I see a synthesis of Amazon, Elon Musk. Notice how I said as a person, not a thing, not a company, right? Amazon's a company of one person, Bezos, which is kind of like a monster octopus. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's Elon Musk that does all these disparate things, right? Each of them $1 billion each. And then Mr. Beast, right? If I were to merge these ideas together into a capitalist, like next level version of a company, it would be solving ginormous problems and getting a ginormous paycheck for it. But the problem with the fight with the anti-capitalist, we'll say, is you as a single person don't need $65 billion. And that's
The
how
money, and
I
that's
know.
the money
I
is
know this.
secondary.
I know this. But the problem but that causes actually extra friction in a capitalist society. What you could do is take, and I've only seen this a couple times, is instead of going, I have 65, my company's net worth is X, because Elon, for instance, owns nothing.
Right.
So I have a hard time saying he's even a billionaire at this moment, right? He literally owns nothing. No, he owns nothing.
And that's the genius of
Right?
it because
Right?
he doesn't need to.
Like he barely owns the shoes on his feet.
Yeah,
Like he owns nothing.
that's a different level.
Right. Unlike Bezos, who owns super yachts that have to take down bridges for them to pass through, and a mountain home with a
How about that?
rocket staging area next to, in a mountain like a villain, like a Bond villain. Like literally, he's poured millions and billions of dollars into his own little abode.
How
Right.
about that?
Which I love that. Right. Like, look, dude, you got it. You want to be a Bond villain? I can go for it. But the unlike Musk, who's living in a 20 square foot, like a 200 square foot box in Houston, Texas.
To each their own.
But that box, no, the box is now, he's now selling the box as a tiny home. And it's becoming a new thing for solving houses, because you could put these things together and build 300 square feet, 3,000 square feet homes out of it.
Hmm.
And they're basically space age type of materials, but they all fold out. Well, why would you bother even doing it? Why would you buy that company that did that and then make this into a thing? What will be your purpose? Oh, yeah, because you want to colonize Mars and you need housing that's packed up and then can expand. Everything is aligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you take the beast method, right? Which is, I'm giving the people what they want. Like he doesn't give a shit about giving away $10,000, putting a hand on the car, making people stay in a circle for 30 days. He doesn't care, right? It's all about give the people what they want. So if you merge these ideas kind of in a weird synthesis, you could be a billionaire net worth, solving huge, gigantic problems, own all these businesses and all these huge things that help solve humanity's biggest problems.
Mm-hmm.
And then also own equal number of nonprofits and charities and foundations.
Well, I mean,
And I think if you did that, then you can take the what we call excess wealth, right? It's not true excess wealth, but in the media, the perception is it's excess wealth.
sure.
Right? Sure. So you got your 50 million, that's yours. You live off of that. All the other billions you put into your foundations, which you still own. But then,
Well, I mean, this is
and
just
the right.
this is the model for anybody who wants to shape the world as they
Yes.
see fit. Right. This is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation
Mm-hmm.
trying to
For
inoculate kids in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
or whatever else it is they get up to,
Yeah.
right? You have this money and you're like, well, what can I do with it? I can mold things.
Yeah.
This is the difference between money and power.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you've made enough money from starting Amazon, like you've identified people's
Mm-hmm.
need, they want to be able to shop from the comfort of their own home for anything that they want. You create a public marketplace where people can pick and choose and peddle their goods and purchase whatever from the comfort of their own home, get it within 2 days, right? And then you also build the backbone of the internet, right? If you're not using Amazon's services, AWS, like
Mm-hmm.
cannot access the internet in a way that anybody would recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you've solved those problems, then you look to shape the world in whatever way you want. You buy the Washington Post. You decide what stories do and do not get published.
Mm-hmm.
You contribute to the most powerful country on earth's understanding of what's going on in the world around it.
Mm-hmm.
You shape people's perceptions, right? So the money has nothing to do with. I mean, the money's tangential, right? Jeff Bezos got a
Yeah.
divorce and lost half of everything. That, honestly, I don't think it changed anything
Right. 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 Right.
because it's not about the money. It's about what access to that amount of capital affords you
Allows you
the
to
ability
do.
to do.
Right. Right.
And then it's in that
100%.
doing that's like nation changing, nation altering actions that you can now take. So when you want to create these NGOs, your private foundations, your charities, then you can do the George Soros thing and decide
That's
who
what I was
you
just
select
thinking
it,
too.
right?
Yeah.
That's sort of it's I mean it's not a new idea though, right? Like it's the Rothschilds did it, right? The European aristocracy
Mm-hmm.
pre World War II, and a little after too. Like how
I
many?
just think that the next evolution of that idea
Mm.
has to be more direct to consumer. Everything's getting direct to consumer, by the way. So that's just the trend. So that if you're going to create like a foundation or something, let's say I have a need, let's say I have a real social need in my life, right? How do I access the foundation or the charity that's supposed to be was created to help solve my need?
What's the
I think
need?
it doesn't matter. Like there's the gateways from the consumer to the charity to the person that funded it. It's less about the person. It's
Well,
way
it's
less
about
about the
it's about
it's
the
about the
need.
charity. No, it's not.
It's about the need.
Today, it's about the charity. It's about the charity. It's not about the person. And I wish I was that. I wish that wasn't true. And I wish I didn't have to talk like a Sith Lord, like
Well,
when I talk
when you
about
say it's
that.
about the charity, what do you mean?
I'm talking in absolutes, and I know this. Um, I'm saying that what happens is that the charities focus. This is a leadership problem. The charities focus is getting more money. The
Right.
charities focus
Charity needs to be a self-generating.
can't.
Okay.
It won't.
Can't if you have a
It has to be
benefactor.
funded,
Yeah.
right? So you got a charity, it seeks funding. And so as it's seeking funding, that's where its attention flows. The person that's supposed to be helping gets what's left over.
Hmm. And so I think that's the problem with charities is because like if you're interested in contributing your money to a good cause, why would you trust somebody else to know better to do with your money than you yourself?
Right.
Sure, I might not know how to get food to kids who need it, but I do know that I can buy food from a grocery store and hand it
Mm-hmm.
to somebody who is hungry on the side of the road.
Right. Right. And your direct involvement in that cause is what makes that work.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying there's bad people in charity, so hold your fire.
Well, there are.
Right. I'm just saying that a charity as an organization is forced to look up. It's the same problem every organization has. It's not charity specific. You
Mhm.
go to any institution and you go to your second line supervisor, you ask them the question, whose opinion do you care more about? Your bosses or your subordinates? And
Person
every single one
writing
of us
you
is
the
going to say their
paycheck.
bosses. Huh?
Person writing you the paycheck.
Right. So they're going to say your bosses. And because they say that, their attention is then away from their subordinates. And the
Mhm.
question is, are you serving your subordinate? Is there any servant? There's zero, there's servant leadership in that organization. And because there's zero servant leadership, the customer at the end of that organization gets the shortest end of that stick.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter to the organization, charity, profit, nonprofit, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. It's the same. And the only person in that organization who thinks differently and believes it should be the other way around is the people without a boss.
Because
They have to a boss.
they're directly tied to the needs of their customer. Their
Correct.
success
And
is
so
their
they're the only
customers.
one at the very top where they don't have a boss who give a crap about the people below them
Mhm.
instinctively. Make sure everything's going well. But everybody else in the middle is always looking up and not down the pyramid, right? To down, eventually down to the customer.
Mhm.
But because of that, you get this weird, this is what organizations struggle. It's this dichotomy. Charities are no different. If you had a charity that practiced servant leadership and focused only on the needs of its particular person the charity was built for and didn't care about the money and didn't care about any of that, then they could really focus on the actual needs 100% instead of 5% because
Yeah.
they're too hungry to stay alive. I've seen it. I'm part of places here. I'm not going to talk about their names. I'm just going to say I was highly disappointed in my involvement with them because I thought it would be better and more impactful.
Well, that's the problem with like, okay, so like Tim Pool on YouTube. Have you heard of him?
Mm,
Okay, so he was a journalist, and then he started YouTubing full time. He
mm,
covered a bunch of stuff in New York City when Occupy the Occupy movement was going on.
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street. That's it.
Yep.
So he covered that and became big and famous as a journalist, and then became a YouTuber. So
Mm-hmm.
he said that one of the things that he noticed when so he was very active in like social causes like homelessness out in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, the problem with the homeless shelters is they're not trying to solve homelessness. They are trying
Right.
to keep homelessness going because otherwise they don't have a job. Right? So that seems to me like that's why when I think about the opportunity to give to charities, like we have the CFC every year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who do you want to donate money to? I don't think I'm going to donate money to anybody because I like the list of possible places to give to expands every year.
Yep.
The, the number of people that you can give your money to is limitless,
Mm-hmm.
but you have zero certainty. You are almost guaranteed to not be giving your money to somebody who is trying to solve the problem, but rather somebody who is trying to just keep going in their everyday lives. And like
Mm-hmm.
sure, good on you. You found a way to do that, but like I'm not going to subsidize that, you know?
Right. When you have an invested interest to keep your life standard of living and it's dependent on other people's
Yeah.
issue, like
Like the ones that there are organizations like Sheltering Wings. It's like a battered women's home. Nope. Nobody in Sheltering Wings is going out there trying to encourage men to hit their wives, right? Like that's not a thing. That's that's a consequence of shitty upbringing plus
Mm-hmm.
alcoholism plus borderline mental disorder. Like, there's a lot of things going on that contribute to that you cannot then necessarily encourage from your position within this organization, Sheltering Wings, right? You're just trying to take care of women and children. So that I could see. That I could feel good about giving to. But then, like,
Mm-hmm.
how many times did you find yourself on the side of a highway picking up trash for the for some volunteer
Right.
opportunity within the Air Force?
Right. Of course.
Why am I cleaning up after somebody else when that's not the problem? The problem is not the trash is on the ground. The problem is somewhere further up the line, and we're not trying to solve it. Like,
Well, yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
problem I want to solve.
And we won't get into like healthcare, right?
So,
So we won't touch that third rail.
big
That's
old
the
state.
same, right? And so let's talk about. So actually, one of the charities I'm going to start next year is a to relieve homelessness. Is a charity I'm starting next year. I feel very passionate about homelessness specifically. I was homeless for 2 years before I
Mm-hmm.
joined the Air Force. And so I understand deeply that impact that it has on somebody's capability and potential and all that good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now I'm not going to be able to solve all the parts of the homelessness, right? Because homelessness is more than just not having a house. It's a lot more than that. And depending on where you are, it's a mental health issue. It's a bio issue. It's a biological issue. It's a healthcare issue, like not just mental but physical body, issue. It's a PTSD issue. It's like you get this weird mindset when you're homelessness, and so when you're homeless, and so like I got to niche down just like any business, right? Have to niche down to solve the people, right? To help solve a problem for a very segmented part of that population, type of thing. And what it's going to be it's about. I think I'm going to do tiny homes is the way I'm going to work this out. So the idea is buy some land, charity buys some land, puts up tiny homes. The applicants then make sure there's transportation, right, to those tiny homes. And then what happens is that they get into the system and there's a limit. Like, look, you got this tiny home for 90 days. In this 90 days, here's the checklist of things that you need to execute. Right? Because now you have an address and a shower. Now you go get a job. Plenty of jobs. Right? Go get a job, starting an income, right? And here's your tiny home. And if you pass those check marks, then you can stay in the tiny home type of thing for a longer 6 months type of thing while you start gaining cash flow, get yourself banked, and what you call it, you now got a routine in where you're making enough money eventually at some point, or you're saving enough money at some point to where you can then you can elevate yourself to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's plenty of people in that I have capability, I just don't have opportunity. That's the sub niche. There's other people that have I don't have capability, I don't have opportunity. And
Yeah,
these
that's a different problem to solve
it's a
entirely.
different problem, right? And so if you have capability and opportunity, I can help you. And then what I do is just give them opportunity, let their capability, get them on their feet. Then once they're on their feet, then we get them cars. And once they get a car, right, we can take them to the next level into where now they get their own apartment. And that they're out. The idea is to get them transitioned out of the tiny house within a year
Mm-hmm.
into a regular apartment, so that I can get the next person in, right? Um, but again, it's not all homelessness. It's a segment of homelessness because that other homelessness I don't have the capability to handle.
Well, it's
Right?
also people
That's
that
a mental asylum problem, not a
it's
homelessness
also
problem.
people that like want to solve the problem, right?
Right.
Like there are plenty of people who choose their circumstances and
Right.
they're like, you know what, I don't like being beholden to anybody else for how I want to spend my time. So this is how I
Mm-hmm.
choose to spend my time.
Yeah, and that's fine. I like look. You
Yeah.
want to roll that way, roll that way. Like I'm not here to help you. I'm here to what you call it. Say, deuces, good luck. right? But it's people that maybe lost hope, but they're still capable.
Mm-hmm.
And because they lost hope, they can't see opportunity. I understand. I get that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I get that. And I think in that very specific realm, I could create a charity, and it's going to be a nonprofit, and it's going to get funded by my companies first, right? I'm the first donor to my companies, to that company, and then if other companies want to get on board, they can. I don't actually care, and I think that's the key piece, right? Like I don't care if other people fund it
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and
because you're
it
not my
sounds
because
like,
the funding isn't the focus,
right. It's the need.
right? It's the needs the focus. And so if my charity isn't funded enough, guess what? That's my business problem. Why is my business not making enough profits that I can donate to my own charity? So that's how I solve that. I don't even look at the funding on the charity part as like a funding problem for the charity. I look at it as my problem as a business owner of my 6, 7, 8 businesses. Why aren't they expanding enough to have enough cash overflow to dump all that profit into my charity for crying out loud? So,
Mhm.
but now it's a business problem. That's how I want to solve that.
I think I think one of the like when I think about like charitable giving, it makes me think of Kiyosaki. Like Robert Kiyosaki's YouTube channel, you will learn more about money from spending, 10, 1,200 hours watching him
Mm-hmm.
talk about money than take an economics course if you want, but
Right,
you're not going to
right,
walk away with practical knowledge that you can then apply to learn how to generate income.
right. 100%.
Like that to me sounds like a form of charity that is a form of charity that resonates with me. Like what I have, I offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who are served by it can choose to receive it or not. Like I honestly I see that as a form of charity that I think that's and then that's also like the I mean that's the entire YouTube business model. Like, do you have something to share? Is there an audience for what you have to share? You can connect with them here. So it's how do you how do you close the gap between who your audience is and what you have to offer? That's
And that's why they say it takes time, right? They say it takes about 18 months of consistent generate content generation to build the audience required to do anything with that. I have my thoughts about that.
mm,
I don't. I'm less of a time centric individual anyway. So the first thing I delete out of my world is time. That's the first thing that goes first, and then I see what's left after I take away time, and it's frequency.
yeah, like consistency.
Mm, mm. No, that's a time problem. Frequency, as in how often, what is the rate of type of thing. Now you need to be consistent in your frequency for it to work, but like, am I so okay? For instance, my current marketing pattern, and this is what people say: one post a day, one blog post, one video post, one thing, whatever. Right, one a day is what you need. Do one a day and be consistent about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you got the systems and processes to support that, then yes, do one a day. But if you try to scale the unscalable, you have more results, such as I make 15 posts a day
Yeah,
across 25 platforms every day. That omnipresent modality will get you way more traction than one post a day on one platform.
That's Tim Pool's YouTube model. Have an hour and a half of talking about
Content.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
5 small videos.
Yeah.
Have another hour and a half of talking in like a Joe Rogan style
Yeah.
conversation in a studio. That then becomes several different clips and videos that then go out as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's how often they go out. Are you just gonna? It's posting, not just creation. So if you got the
Yeah.
creation process down to post more frequently, that's the first. That's a requisite.
Yeah.
But then you go, well, I'm just going to post once a week, so I have 52 days done. Okay, that's good. Then it'll take you 3 years to build an audience. Or I post 5 times a day.
Take you
And
like 3 months to build an audience.
yeah, well, because YouTube specifically is forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a search engine. And so people will look up a thing on YouTube to find your content. They're not going to be presented your content.
Right.
So if you treat it as a search engine, and say you take this hour plus time frame, right? You break this up to like 3 clips. And we talked about a couple different topics here. But in your description, in your hashtags, you think searchability. If somebody was like, how to, and you just niche down that 5 minute you know what I mean? How to, how to, how to. And then now you produce 3 videos in one day with
Mm-hmm.
these 3 different how to's going back to your channel. So now your channel is going to get more popular because it's solving 3 problems out of one piece of content.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? So it's almost behoove if you want to do YouTube, you should generate hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos. And whether you dump them all at once, right, or you drip them out on YouTube, doesn't matter. It's a search platform.
Well, in
Doesn't matter.
as I'm
It's a
as I'm
search
thinking
platform.
about,
It doesn't matter. You're not gaining an audience over time with YouTube. It's not happening. You will gain an audience over time because people will see the one video that they looked up how to. Like I just recently found this interesting financial advisor, right? I'm like, well, your stuff is on point. How many followers you? Only 300,000 followers? You should have 3 million followers. Like her content is really good. But then I went to go look at the number of videos she has. She has like 30 videos. I'm like,
she's got 300,000 followers on 30 videos.
yeah,
So she was doing something
she was
before
doing
YouTube.
something. She stopped, right? And then she started generating some more content.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it would be better if you just had 300 videos.
I mean, not if not if what she has to offer is working for her in the current format that she's doing. Like,
It's a production problem in her case. It's not a content problem. It's a production. How do you produce 300 videos is the problem, not that there are 300 videos. How do you produce it is the problem. That's the limitation. To build the audience, it would be look. In fact, I'm going to prove this. Here it is, December 19th at 6:14 a.m. Central Time. I'm declaring I will have 1 million followers on my YouTube channel this time next year.
because
I'm only going to post the videos in December of next year. I am not going to post any videos.
I have a hard time envisioning how that's going to work.
Where's my thing? Okay. That was funny. My screen went blank. I thought I lost you. Okay, good. I didn't. Yeah, so I am not going to post any videos until December of next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in December, in 1 month, I will have 1 million followers. Just to prove that this is right.
We're talking subscribers,
Subscribers. Yep.
people who actively engage with your videos.
I will have, no, on YouTube, I will have 1 million subscribers.
1 million subscribers.
And I will not buy any of them. Because it's not, I don't believe it is about how often you're pushing on YouTube. Now, every platform is different, right? Like on LinkedIn, there's a feed. And so you need to be consistent with the feed without being overwhelming. There's some guys that post 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day, and I see their shit 5, 4, 7, 8, 9 times a day because I don't just see the day stuff. I see yesterday's and 2 weeks stuff.
Yeah.
In my feed, right? I see a lot of their stuff, and it kind of gets a little bit overwhelming. So on LinkedIn, I find that the pattern of once a day is consistent enough to drive a voyeur level audience. People who are not necessarily clicking but know who you are, to have the lead effects you want for a business. It's different. And then you can pepper it with extra posts throughout the day if you want, right? But one consistent post a day on thought leadership in the main domain that's targeting your audience. And then you hit them with something else. That same audience will still get that, be like, oh, I didn't know that about him. That's cool. But as long as it's peppered and it's not consistent, you won't change your algorithm. But you keep your algorithm steady with a drumbeat of great stuff on LinkedIn. Like this works on LinkedIn. I gotta caveat that, right? This is where this works. If you were doing Facebook,
it's different. Different algorithms
on Facebook. If you're not doing ads, you're not seeing anybody.
Well, Facebook has lost a number of lawsuits based on the claims that they were making around their ads.
Yeah.
Like, and this is the bot issue with Twitter. Like, hey, we can guarantee that your post is going to reach this many people. How the fuck do you guarantee that?
Yeah.
You cheat. You lie. Right? That's baked in, which is, and hearing anecdotal stories from people, like on top of knowing that Facebook has lost lawsuits or at least settled out of court, right? To keep it quiet. Talking to people who are like, yeah, my niece tried to do like some Facebook, bought some ads on Facebook to sell her services and didn't work out at all. It's like, well, like that may not have been the right marketing approach for what you had to offer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wrong market, wrong offer, wrong audience, wrong feed flow. Right? You're at the barbecue. Stop trying to sell me insurance.
Yeah.
Right? I'm at the barbecue.
When I see something as like a sponsored ad, I instinctively don't trust it.
Right. Now I'm the same way, and sometimes I'll get caught in a post. I'm like, well, that's a super interesting post. That was it was sponsored. Now I'm curious because I'm like, hey, you just provided me high value, interesting content, and you pushed it to me via sponsorship. I'll click. I'll be like, what? Who are you? Because if anything, I want to model. Because I'm very interested now in what they got. But when people just say, buy my socks, I'm like, okay, cool. These are the great socks ever. Okay, cool. Yeah, moving on. Right, there's these cool like animal eating your feet socks right now that are very popular.
Is that right?
Like sharks, like it's like a shark, and it's like it looks like it's eating your foot, right? Because you just put it on. And like alligators, they got different things going on. Anyway, I saw the ad. I was like, "That's cute. Oh, it's sponsored. It's a product. Okay, moving on." Like it didn't catch my attention. I wasn't interested in that. But there's been other times where I got caught up in like a 20-minute video because it was really interesting, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's sponsored!" I was shocked that it was sponsored, right? And I was like, well, let me see what this guy's all about. I think that's good. That's good. But again, it's context.
Yeah, if it resonates with you, then you were the right audience for it. That is successful marketing.
Right. And other people try to treat their profile pages as like they try to get 5,000 friends.
Yeah.
They max out the friends.
As their pool.
And then when your friends will see your post. So that's interesting. Right? Like your friends will see the post that you produce. But if you use it as a marketing thing, then are they really your friends? But Facebook, you know what I mean? It gets weird. People treat, again, context. People treat that weirdly. Like, why do I want to be friends with you? right? I mean, do good friends, friends. I don't think I'm good friends with you. You know what I mean? Like, because you're just gonna try to sell me stuff. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Um, there was a realtor local. She was married to a maintenance dude. They've since left, but she was super good at what she did. And what she posted on, she had over 5,000. She had 5,000 friends. She had like 3 or 4 accounts, right, of 5,000 people. And what she would post is like fun things, like today's demo day, or hey, my husband came home today and I bought another house. Crap like that. He wasn't abused.
I mean,
Right.
if it's,
So she's talking about her industry,
yeah,
right? But in a fun, like social way, the type you talk to people, not trying to say, hey, who wants to be on my investment team for this next property that I have coming? No,
yeah.
right? That's not the way she was. And I think she was super successful because of that, because she just talked about it. Like as if we're friends. She talked about it as if we're friends.
Mm-hmm. It
And
wasn't,
that's the
hey, do you want to, you keeping your business opportunities open?
exactly.
Like, please
Get your
go.
MLM out of here. Uh
Hey,
yeah.
you wanna invest in a surefire thing I got going on?
Yeah. You ever heard of Forex? And so like I just think it's different. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I will tell you that frequency consistency of frequency over time, and I say over time as in greater than time, is where the magic is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think time only becomes a factor if your frequency is low. I think you need to hit a threshold per platform of items in the bucket, right? Sometimes you need 100 things, sometimes you need 300 things, sometimes you need 1,000 things in the bucket. And when you got them in the bucket, that's when things pop. Like there's a threshold based on how many things are in the bucket, quantity,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily time of frequency or time of consistency, I guess. Like how often or like how long did it take you to put 300 things in a bucket? I think that matters less than having 300 things in the bucket.
I mean,
So if you just build it up, you can build up. But the problem is it's production. Like you're going to take this, what we're talking about today, right? And it's going to take you time to chop this up and publish it. And so you can only drip this out based on your production
mm-hmm.
speed. That's the that's the problem. It isn't it isn't like anything other than that. If you had the capability, and I recommend this to you, by the way, is that as you are figuring out your process and what you like, that you package that up into an SOP and you outsource this.
Yeah.
You outsource the editing. Do it just enough to where you're familiar enough to be able to, you know what right looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and then outsource it.
If it was something that like, if it was
No,
something that made me more money than it cost to get somebody else to do, or like the return on the investment of paying somebody else to do it was worth the fun. Yeah, definitely as it is right now, we're not there.
well, look, let me rephrase this. Um, you don't know your hour rate
Yeah.
because it is costing you money.
Well,
It's
it's
costing if
money is just a
you
medium of exchange. Like I'm
no
exchanging my time for
right. If you
skill
value the
set that
time
I'm,
energy model,
yeah.
right, and you put a price value on that time energy model, then for every minute that you're editing a film to cut this out, while it's fun and it's fine, and if you're just doing it because you're leisure, do it. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that can be outsourced. What can't be outsourced is you making the video with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You can't outsource like this conversation.
Right.
So you have to be here. You have to have your time energy right now. You cannot outsource this. You can't outsource the editing. So the problem is you don't have enough videos happening. So what if you had, like we've been talking to almost like hour and a half, almost 2 hours, you know? But what if you had today 7 people who you're going to talk to like this?
That would take me a lot of time.
Yeah, it would take you 7 hours, 8 hours
Yeah.
of just this.
Yeah.
Then all the time to cut that stuff up, right? It
Well,
would
and
take you the rest of the week.
this is the live streaming feature on YouTube. This is the live streaming feature on Rumble. This is direct to the audience. The audience can interact with you, you interact with them, and cut it up later or snip pieces out of it to trickle out.
Absolutely, that's a method. Grant Cardone did that when he started he started a YouTube channel. He did 5 shows a week, 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday at 12 Central Eastern every single day.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about one different topic each day, and he built up an audience. He didn't reclip nothing. He doesn't have time for that.
Yeah.
Gary V does live and produce things all the time, and he just has 8 people following him around with cameras. Right? They stream some of it, and some of it is being cut out almost immediately for posts.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the same time. Like in the moment. He has a media team following him around essentially.
Yeah.
And they're cutting and editing on the go. Type of like they don't right? It's a very aggressive media team.
Interesting way to approach it too.
Right. So like the trick is that all things work. The problem is what works for you. I'm just saying for you specifically, this is a really good conversation. And I'm going to wait till you end the recording before I tell you something about this.
Oh, sure.
And then, but I'm just saying that if you had 7, and this is useful to other people who may see this, if you had an interview style thing going on happening, and these conversations were actually like kind of useful for everybody involved, you did it with some consistency, and if you could increase the frequency of them, that'd be very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was actually thinking about like reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Like I'm seeing people with job titles that are just crazy. Like one of the last people who I became friends with on LinkedIn, he runs like television network for the Department of Motor Vehicles, like the Department of Motor Vehicles television network. Did you know that that was a thing? I had no idea. Like what?
Yeah.
And that piques my curiosity. I'm like, what is that? I would like to learn more about that, and maybe other people would too.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that I was thinking about after we recorded our first one. Was like, man, what would this look like if I just like asked these people who seemed like really interesting to me on LinkedIn, like, hey, what can you tell me about what you do? Because I find that fascinating.
And that's what Tim Ferriss did.
I've heard of Tim Ferriss before.
See, it's funny. People have not, he's becoming a little bit less. He's still doing the things that he's always done. The problem is that I don't think he's evolved, right? So he's doing the same stuff that worked 10 years ago.
Well, so what worked for him 10 years ago that was
So he was a podcaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then he wrote the 4-hour work week. And he wrote the 4-hour work week based on his experiences of starting a vitamin company, and then eventually asking for help, and then eventually interviewing people. And now that's what he does. He interviews people. So he has an audio podcast that interviews interesting people, writes them into blogs. His website is very good for converting the text to blogs and in different ways, right? So it's a very good website. He writes 4-hour something books now and then. Tribe of Titans or something of Titans was his last book. And all he did for that was email all the people he ever interviewed, ask them 5 questions, and they emailed them back, and he put it into a book. Right. So,
Smart.
smart. Right. And so like, anyway, there's a thing about connecting with people to hear their stories, capturing stories. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Right? Joe Rogan is a
Oh
great
yeah.
at capturing stories and asking smart questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even
So,
when he's like completely lost by like thinking about what the like you ever watch him interview Jordan Peterson? He's
oh yeah,
yeah. He's just gotta like process what Jordan Peterson said to him.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's a good and like the idea is that this is in some ways at least a funnel for people who are like, hey, maybe I'd like coaching too.
yeah. Yeah, and I think the problem with like Tim Ferriss and Joe Rogan, while they interview interesting people that you might not have heard of, the problem is you don't know if you like those type of people,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
Because they're keeping a variety
I don't
of
see that as a
people in their
problem
deal,
though.
huh?
Like, what does the human mind want more than anything else? It's novelty.
Well, that's one of the things, absolutely, and that's why it's entertaining. And if you want to do entertainment, that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, if you want to do something that's more interesting. The Wall Street Journal, for a long time, it still does, I think, on paper format. My dad was subscribed to this boy, for a long time. There was a leadership profile page, and it talked about a CEO of a Fortune 100 or 500 company, talked about who they were, how they got where they were, and there was a little interview in there, about some of their lessons in like leadership and business and da da da.
Mhm.
Always these really nice little golden nuggets were hiding of people who were very successful in very big companies.
Yeah.
Get that consistently week to week, that's a value add. And it's in the context of the Wall Street Journal, right? Which also, you know what I mean? Like, makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, if you would have had a wrestler on there, it would have been weird. Um,
Would be
like I'm just saying,
interesting.
it would
Like
be interesting,
interview
but it
Vince
wouldn't have.
McMahon.
But it's not a great. But that's not the. But you know what I mean? Like you can be in. You don't want people sacrifice sometimes to be interesting when now they get off audience, and because again,
Yeah.
it's about the audience. So
Do you ever
while me, you know,
do you ever watch Chael Sonnen?
who?
Do you like do you follow UFC mixed martial arts at all?
Oh no.
Okay, so Chael Sonnen was a middleweight, and then as he got older, a light heavyweight, and then as he got older, a heavyweight. And he had kind of a boring fighting style. Like he was a Division One wrestler. I think he was uh, I think he was second string for the Olympics one year, right? Like very well pedigreed wrestler. I think he wrestled at
Mm-hmm.
Oregon State or something, and so his fighting style was kind of boring. It was primarily like, hey, let me put my chest in your head and get you down and try to beat you up, but it wasn't exciting to watch necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
What made him so successful? He got two back-to-back title shots at two different weight classes, both of which he lost.
Mm-hmm.
What made him fun was all the trash he would talk and just how he would approach his personal marketing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like every time I have the opportunity to have a microphone in front of me is an opportunity to market myself. What's the best, most creative way to do that? And so he analyzes that within the UFC. He's like, hey, did you see this guy's post-fight interview where they were like, who do you think should fight for the title next? And he said, somebody else's name? What are you doing? Like that is your opportunity to talk about yourself and
Mm-hmm.
talk your way into a title fight, which is how it works. Like you do
Mm-hmm.
not understand this business if you do not understand how to get yourself into the matches that you want. And so he takes this perspective, and he's got a vast YouTube audience of MMA fans and fighters and managers and like decision makers within the UFC, and so the perspective that he takes in his videos and like analyzing the fights and analyzing the whatever news is in the sport is it always fascinates me because he is speaking to an audience and members of the community. It's like if John Madden had a podcast that was both for football players, like telling football players like what they needed to do to be better at
Mm-hmm.
football, and for the fans. Like
Mm.
it's this unique grouping of people that are interested in what he has to say because he was so successful as it. He was so
Mm.
successful as a fighter with a pretty boring fighting style who was always fun to watch on the microphone. You put a
Mm-hmm.
microphone in
Mm-hmm.
front of him and you wanted to hear what he had to say.
Right, right, right,
You might actually get something out of watching him.
right. Mm.
Like just watch a few of his videos and how he approaches it. It's worthwhile. Like it's a very intellectual approach to be entertaining, be an entertainer. Because
Right,
he
right, right.
talks about like the UFC modeled itself on pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Like get people to fight. Vince McMahon will the winner of WrestleMania, whatever the biggest wrestling event in the world is going to be, is whoever has the highest merchandise sales. That's the model. Get people to wrestle each other, talk on the microphone a little bit, and then whoever's the most popular wins.
Mm-hmm.
That's the UFC, except
Mm.
the outcomes aren't predetermined.
Right,
So
right,
there's
right, right.
there's there's the wrinkle that makes it more
Yeah.
interesting than professional wrestling will ever be.
Right.
That's why it's become a global sport within 1993. 1992 was the
Mm-hmm.
first UFC, right? Like so it's that marketing element and that the understanding of what you have to offer and what makes you interesting to the audience that is going to make the people who are in charge of booking matches, that's going to
Mm-hmm.
put you in the cage with this person.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a different avenue, it's a different venue, but it's the same. I guess it's the same lessons in
Yeah.
in a
Well,
slightly
it's
different
univer-
way.
I mean, they're universal. Look, the human species, unfortunately, is not a very complex animal. We like to think we are. We're not that complex. We're rational. We're not rational. We justify things with rationality, but we're entertained emotionally. We want more emotionally stimulating events. We don't actually want rational stimulating events. In fact,
And we do.
the only way we get to a rational stimulating event is if it's emotionally triggering. Jordan
Well,
Jordan
emotion
Peterson,
is the master of
right?
reason.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I
Yes.
mean, like the only reason we're interested in watching Jordan Peterson is the emotional reactions that he gets out of other people. That's why we watch him.
Yeah.
Like that's like because watch
So
people melt
so
down.
I've actually been toying around with the idea that like I wrote it in my planner today. Uh it's it's design a I thought I wrote it in my planner. I wrote it on my to-do list. It's in the
It
weekly
is written.
section. It's in the weekly section, not the daily section. Try a Jordan B. Peterson video for creativity. The idea is watch 5 minutes of Jordan Peterson talking about something I find interesting. Do a breathing centering technique either before or after, and then devote myself to trying to create something. Again, just
Mm,
just see if that adjusts my adjusts my thinking in a way that produces something that I like.
mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah, I just thought like, wouldn't it be cool if I could systematize the creative process in a way that wasn't just dependent upon the time that I had to input, but but took into account the the mental, emotional, rational, irrational inputs that thinking about certain things could offer.
Hmm.
Still working it out. I'm pretty excited about it though. Like
It's
I think it's a
awesome.
cool idea. I'm interested to try it.
No, that's awesome. Anything that stretches us, right, and pushes us into new domains
Yeah.
is always a good thing,
Yeah.
right? Because at least it gets it started.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. Are you good here? I have to
Yeah, yeah.
so badly.
Oh, let's well, tell it. Do this. Let's cut this. Cut the recording.